The Red Sox prospect prosperity continues. Last night, Marcelo slugged 2 homers in Boston's 4-3 win over the Rays, helping the Sox win back-to-back series for the first time since early May. They are now just 3 games out of a wild card spot with 7 teams ahead of them, but they do carry some momentum into this weekend's series against the New York Yankees. All right, welcome into Arbella Early Edition, everyone. I'm Trenni Casey alongside Phil Perry, and from 98.5 The Sports Hub, we have Mark Bertrand. Phil, did we write off these Red Sox a little too quickly?
No, I don't think we wrote them off. I think given what they were showing us on the field, they were very much deserving of all the criticism they got in terms of how they were playing and the stupidity with which they were playing on basically a nightly basis. And had they continued on that trend, we wouldn't be talking about them in the wild card hunt the way we are right now. We'd be talking about them as sellers, as we were, quite frankly, just about a week ago or less than that. People talking about trading Jarren Duran, who should be one of your best players and a building block for your future. That was the track they were on. And so, Beetle, they've righted the ship for now, but they need to get smarter on the field. They need to get better pitching. They need to understand situational hitting. Not all is solved because they won a series against the Rays. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't make the mistake of thinking that they're not still a stupid team, because they are very much still a stupid team. The thing that's changed for them in recent days is the thing that they had the ability to change a while ago without having to call up Marcelo or calling up Roman Anthony, and that is their starting pitching has been better. Right? When you get Walker Buehler to go 7 in a game, well, that changes the math a little bit for a bullpen that desperately needs a little bit of a break here. Now they're going to get that. So I think they've got potential. The math is what it is. That hasn't really changed all that much. The thing that's changed a little bit is the makeup of the roster. Yes, that's optimistic for us, right? Gives us some promise, some hope. We like that. And the starting pitching's been a little bit better. Do we have any idea that this will be a way that they can consistently win? No.
I mean,
No.
Not even with starting pitching, right? Like Lucas Giolito and Walker Buehler have both had good starts this week. And they both were coming off terrible starts, and they've had more terrible starts than they have had good starts. So while they have looked better, it's hard to be like, yep, pencil them in October, because all of a sudden they've caught lightning in a bottle. And I think making matters worse is the fact that I don't know that they're handling their young guys quite right.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't know that they're a playoff team because being 3 out, they still would need to leapfrog 5 teams. So the math works against them, even being 3 out. They've got to be better than a lot of teams. But we're looking for, and then listen, what we thought of them in March and into April, that's long gone, right? That's over. But can they remain relevant, and can they not completely fall apart in the second half of the summer and just keep themselves competitive? I think that would be important and would go a long way for wherever this team ends up and wherever they're going to be in the future. It would be a shame if all these young players we talk about end up playing on a really bad team to start their career, where guys show up every day to the ballpark and don't really care because they've just lost all hope.
Hearing yesterday from Cora that, we may not really see much of Meyer and Anthony over the weekend because there's lefties going on out there. Like, I don't understand the organizational philosophy around these young guys. Are you trying to win games, or what are we doing here? If you're going to build around your best 3 guys, and when you bring them up, now you're going to bring them up and send them down and bring them up and send them down, except for the one that you already paid, and that one gets to stay up regardless of how he looks in the field.
Yeah, the reason, Trenni, you don't understand the organizational philosophy with these guys is because they don't have one. There is no plan here, and that much is very, very clear. When you just even look at how these last 2 were called up, and Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer, it's almost like it's a 5-alarm fire. Marcelo Meyer, poor guy, can't even find the keys to his car to get himself to Boston. Roman Anthony doesn't have his equipment because they find out apparently late in the day that Wilyer Abreu can't play and has to go on the IL, and so suddenly, out of the blue, they decide finally to call this guy up. The people have been clamoring for them to call up for the last month plus. It is so clear to me that they are just winging it. They're flying by the seat of their pants with the most important people in the organization, that is this young core. And the fact, Beetle, that they're unwilling to make a hard decision on top of it to figure out a way to keep Roman Anthony with the ball club, now that he's finally been called up, to me is malpractice by Craig Breslow.
Phil, go back to spring training with Christian Campbell. At the start of spring training, nobody had any idea where Christian Campbell would be on opening day, and it went from Maybe he makes the club. Maybe they let him compete for the job to he's on the opening day roster and he has a $70 million deal. I mean, none of this looks like there was a long-term plan. So everything has been different. There is no core philosophy. There's nothing that they've stuck to. And there's really nothing in common with any of these guys other than they just kind of decided at the last minute which way it was going to go.
How do you feel about what Alex Cora said yesterday about how, his philosophy around young guys and having them go against left-handed pitching as lefties is, well, we didn't do it with Rafael Devers in 2018, and look how he turned out. So I think I'm going to follow the same plan of action with Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony.
Yeah, I don't think that should be a core philosophy that you stick to at all times. I think you should probably be able to assess the situation, which involves assessing the player and knowing if the player is capable of making that sort of graduation to going against lefties. Roman Anthony was really good against lefties in the minors.
Yeah.
He does not have a problem facing lefties. If you believe he's good enough to be on your major league roster, there are no red flags there for him not being able to do well against lefties. So I don't understand that at all. And so I just think it's poor decision making on the part of a manager sticking to a philosophy that he's apparently developed based on one player going back 7 years ago. And now we got to stick to that because that worked out.
And on a team, by the way, in 2018 that was loaded.
Well, it was. And listen, I do understand it to a degree because the guys that are going to be playing in place of those guys have hit lefties really, really well. So the numbers would back up his decision-making here, but it shouldn't be a blanket philosophy. It shouldn't be a blanket approach. If, as Beetle mentioned, the numbers for Roman Anthony are really good against lefties, and he's a guy that you want to build around and you want to give him as many reps as possible against Major League pitching, go ahead and play him. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do understand it to a degree, playing these other guys that have established numbers against lefties, because I want them to try to win games, Trenni. I do want that. It was part of the reason why I wanted them to call up Roman Anthony. There's been place on the Major League roster for Roman Anthony for over a month, and he would have been one of their best hitters for that entire period of time. They refused to do it because for whatever reason they want to keep him away. That's not what's best for the team. If they're playing these other guys because they can hit lefties, at least that's a philosophy I can get behind. At least you're talking about winning baseball games by making that decision.
Well, maybe part of the problem is this. While the Sox have been winning games, it hasn't completely masked the dysfunction boiling beneath the surface, whether it's Sam Kennedy still thinking Rafael Devers will play the field or Alex Cora's hesitancy to play the young guys, as we just discussed, against lefties. The organizational philosophy feels fuzzy at best. Yesterday, while filling in on Zolak and Bertrand, Michael Howley dropped some info about the state of Alex Cora and the Sox organization.
Talked to somebody the other day and said, look, I like Alex, but he's different. He's different. He's not as engaged. The guess is from this person I was talking to was just like there's a lot of dysfunction between the front office and the manager's office.
Yes. Two different messages, it feels like.
Just they can't get it together, and I think it's affecting other parts of the organization.
To me, Beetle, the crux of this problem is that the people in charge, the ownership, have not decided, or they have decided. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go with that. They have not decided what direction they want their team. Do you want your team to be built on nerds like Craig Breslow and Chaim Bloom, or do you want your team to be built on baseball people like Alex Cora? Because Alex Cora did not get along with Chaim Bloom, and now he seems like he does not get along with Craig Breslow. They cannot come to a consensus on how to build rosters. Are they going to try to win? Are they holding out for next year when they can have everybody come up here? Like, there does not seem to be any idea of what direction they want this team to go, and there seems to be infighting, and now everybody is standing with their hands on their hips saying this is the way we should do it. And I think that's actually might be what is happening with Alex Cora and the lefty thing. Like, hey, this is what I did before, and I'm going to keep doing this whether you want me to or not.
Yeah, and I think the numbers would tell you, and the people upstairs would say, for example, play Roman Anthony against lefties. And so that would be maybe one of the disagreements. I also think the Devers situation is very much at the center of this, and that is the trip to Kansas City and maybe a disagreement over how that should be handled. And maybe they've got different levels of the organization that are disagreeing about how that player, their highest paid player, their star player, should be dealt with. And so I think that, they didn't come in together. Alex Cora is ownership's guy, and I think that if ownership had to pick which guy they're more loyal to, they would tell you they're loyal to the manager. and not to the chief baseball officer. And that in and of itself, to me, disrupts the chain of command and means that you really don't have a manager who's answering to a front office above him. You've got multiple people that are going right to the top, and one is getting more respect than another.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know, actually, where ownership would stand on this, because I feel like John Henry and his group have gone full bore on the numbers. And that's what's most disappointing about the Craig Breslow era to this point. This guy was supposed to be somebody who could bridge that gap. He's a former player. He's a Major League Baseball player that's in your front office, and he is all about the numbers. And he appears to have zero EQ, all kinds of IQ, zero EQ, no emotional intelligence based on how he's handled the Devers situation. These are human beings that you're bringing up from the minor leagues and that you're thrusting into the lineup in the middle of the order right away as they're absorbing this new life experience and trying to get their feet underneath them. I remember in years past, this Boston Red Sox organization, same ownership group, would call people up, Trenni, and they'd let them sit a night, and they'd let them get their feet wet to a degree before bringing them into the lineup. It just feels like Craig Breslow is playing fantasy baseball, and I could understand why Alex Cora would loathe that.
And we have to get to break, but I'll also say this. If you want to keep Alex Cora happy, he wasn't happy with the last president of baseball operations, so you should have consulted him more about this one to make sure that they got along and they were on the same page.